All right, so we are going to do the listing presentations today. As mentioned, you don't have to use mine. You can create your own. You just need to make sure whatever presentation you're going to do, you know inside and out, and you're not fumbling through. What you don't want to do is read word for word through the listing presentation. That's not going to be dynamic. You're going to look like you don't even know your own marketing plan. So definitely practice whatever presentation you're going to do thoroughly, quite a few times. I recommend doing it with a partner and having that partner object. It's role playing, but it's not role playing in the normal sense. It's just you going through and finding those points where you're weak and where you can strengthen. And I stutter, so if I stutter, I'm sorry, guys. So when I go through this today, I'm going to go through it as if you guys are all sellers. Normally, I'd be making eye contact. I would be, pointing certain things out to you. But since we're all at tables and I can't really do that right now, I'm just going to go through it like we are sellers. If you have questions, stop me and we'll answer those questions as we go so you don't forget. If you are the type of person that you're like, okay, let's do some objections. Object to me. Act like you're a seller and object to me, and then we can go over kind of what it looks like. So we'll build listing presentation and objection handling into one big thing if you guys can throw some objections at me. Sound good? Okay. So hello, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. My name is Alexis Hughes with eXp Realty. Thank you so much for welcoming me into your home. I know the most important thing to you right now is going over that market analysis, but I'd like to take a few minutes to go over my listing presentation with you to show you how I am going to sell your home for the most amount of money in the quickest amount of time. So when we go over the numbers, you understand where they're coming from. Is that okay with you? Some will say yes, let's do it. Most will say yes because you're in front of them and people have a hard time saying no when they see your face. If they say, no, I just want to get to the numbers. Totally fine, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I just want to let you know that until we go over the listing presentation, I cannot strategize on an exact number. I'm just going to be able to give you a range. Once you tell them that, they're going to be like, oh crap, I really want to know exact numbers. I don't want a range because likely they have a range already in mind. So they'll most of the time say, okay, let's go over your listing presentation. And that's when they are doing that, that's how you know, hey, I need to speed my presentation up a little more than what I would normally do. And if they have any objections with the numbers once we get there, I can refer back to the listing presentation. In that sense, what happens is you're taking control of the situation. You're not letting the seller control you and control the appointment because ultimately you want to be guiding them the entire way. That way, by the time you get to signing a listing agreement, they're so used to agreeing with you at that point that they're just ready to do it. So we're going to continue. So this is steps for success in selling your home. We have a 7-step process, and what this is going to do today is determine if it's a match, if we can work together. We're going to be your resourceful guide. I want you to understand that we're not here to make decisions for you. We are here to give you the pros and cons, and at the end of the day, we are obedient to our clients. So anything that you tell us to do, as long as it's not murder a person, we're going to go and do for you. So as you can see, these 7 steps are laid out for you right here. First thing we're going to do is the selling consultation, which is what we're doing right now. Then we have our pricing strategy, our marketing strategy, a customized marketing plan for your particular home, understanding your role, the negotiations, and then we manage the transaction to closing. Now today we're going to focus on the selling consultation, and if you decide to hire me as your agent, we'll go over pricing strategy and marketing strategy. Once we get closer to going live with your home, that is where coming up with the customized marketing plan is most important. That's when we're going to focus on that. So what is most important to you? Obviously, that's going to affect how we market your home and how aggressive we are with it. We know that getting the most amount of money for you is important, and we know selling it quickly is important. But are there any other motivations we need to be aware of? Do you have any things with home condition? Is it going to put us going into the fall? Is your concern pricing? You're going into foreclosure and you've got to pay off some liens on the home. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Remember, in the working with real estate agents, I don't want you to tell me anything until you've hired me because I can use that against you in the future. So right now, let's not go over that. I just want you to understand that these types of motivating things will affect how we determine price during pricing strategy. We need to talk about your home's marketability. All of that comes into play when we're pricing your home and creating a marketing strategy. What are you gonna miss most about your home, about this location? What features are you most proud of in your home? Is it in a convenient location? All of these are going to be things that we need to consider when we're looking at our target audience for your home. For an example, we know that an older couple that are around 65, 70 likely are not going to want a two-story home. So we need to be very cognizant of that in any targeted marketing that we do. Does that make sense? Everybody's nodding, just for those that can't see. All right. Any issues that we should be aware of? You know, it may not seem like it's a big deal to you, but in the future, if you are facing a potential short sale and we don't disclose that, and we go under contract with a buyer, then you have legal implications at that point. So we need to know, are you facing that potential short sale? Are we gonna have a prepayment penalty for your current mortgage? Do you have any liens on the home that's gonna affect your net proceeds? All of those things we need to know, even down to if your HOA has a rental cap, because what if an investor buys your home? So we'll go in depth with that once you decide to hire me as your listing agent, simply so that we can protect you in the long run, and 5 years later you don't come back and have a lawsuit against you. Pricing strategy. So there are several factors that are going to affect the value of your home. External factors, those factors that we really have no control over. Interest rates, economy, buyer demand, seasonal demand, your neighbor's price. Obviously, we want to sell your home, not your neighbor's. So we're going to look at that during our pricing strategy as well. What internal factors affect the value of your home? Your location within the neighborhood, how big your home is, the amenities that your community offers, and the condition. We want to use a market analysis as a guide. Now, we are not appraisers. A market analysis is exactly that, a guide. It tells us, based on what's closed in the area, how much your home could likely sell for and how much it could likely appraise for. Now, I don't want you to look at the market analysis when we get to that point and freak out, because like I said, it's a range. And like I said, the internal factors, your condition versus the condition of one of your comparable properties, how does that affect your value? One thing that I like to bring up is how you price your home for the maximum value. So the National Association of Realtors, they are phenomenal with giving us studies and breaking down the analytics of properties and pricing and market strategy. So as you can see, most people are like, let's price our house just a little bit higher than market value so we have room to negotiate. I totally understand that thought process, but what I want you to know is if time is one of your motivating factors, that might not be best for you. So we know through economics that supply and demand dictates how much you can get for a product. So what this study has shown is that if you price your house just 10% above market value, you're only capturing 2% of the buyer pool that are looking at homes in your price range and with your characteristics. If you price just 5% above market value, you're only capturing 30%. Then we look below. A lot of agents will come in and they will say, let's price it below market value because we're going to create a bidding war. Not saying that that doesn't happen sometimes, but there is no guarantee. And what I don't want to happen is I promise you a bidding war by pricing it lower than what it's worth, and a month goes by and we've only got one offer, because you never know. So as you can see, pricing it just 5% below market value, yes, you get more of a buyer pool. 10%, you get 92%. That may seem like it's a good thing, but the problem is most people looking in the price range that they're looking in. If your house is worth 200 and we price it at 190, most of those people aren't going to be approved up to 200. So you're going to get a lot of lowball offers, and it's going to create unnecessary stress. In addition to that, the people that are actually looking at a 200,000 value, your fair market value, that 60% of buyer pools, are more likely to pull their offer than to go into a bidding war and offer more than the home is worth. So I always recommend to you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, let's price it at fair market value. That's going to give us the biggest buyer pool of serious buyers that want to spend the amount of money that your home is worth. Does that make sense to you? Everybody's shaking their head, yes. Okay. Why this is important is because you want to keep time on your side. Like I said, if we price just a little bit higher, we're missing an entire buyer pool of people. If you look, we're missing 30% of the buyers that we would have just pricing 5% above market value. The studies from National Association of Realtors have also shown that the first 2 to 3 weeks on the market is the most important time for you to get your home sold. And the reason why is you are up at the top of the search engines. If your listing is in MLS, it's going out to all the buyers, and the buyers are looking at the newest listings. They're not going back looking at the oldest listings. They're looking at the new ones. So that first 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to have the peak amount of interest. And what does economics tell us? The more buyers you have, the more in demand your property is, and the higher price you'll get for it. So what that means to you is if we do our marketing correctly and we price it right and we ensure that it gets out to as many buyers as possible, your price plus exposure is going to be sold. It's going to give you a faster sell, less inconvenience with showings. You're going to have more of an internet response because we know most buyers are buying online now. It's also going to make sure that you are not having to deal with showings, that you have more negotiating power during repairs. All of those things play into keeping the price and the time on your side. As we go down the selling equation, why that's so important and why I drill fair market value into your head is because we know that 51% of buyers are buying their home by looking on the internet first. Then we know 34% are finding their home with an agent. Now, where do you think, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that agent is finding homes? Online. So if you look at this, truly 85% of people are utilizing the internet when they're buying a home. You get about 8% from yard signs and about 7% from other, which could be something like an open house. What that means for you, we know that buyers are instant gratification people. Those 85% of internet buyers, studies have shown that 95% of them utilize social media. So in our marketing plan, we want to make sure that we're hitting every possible place where we have a buyer, because like I said, the more buyers you have, the more demand you have for the home. So as we go down, I want you to see the customized marketing plan. You have professional photography, and the reason I say professional, I don't mean Susie Q that takes headshots for a living, have her come and photograph your home. Susie Q knows the best angles for your face. She doesn't know the best angles for lighting and making the room look as large as it possibly can. She doesn't know for a fact that if you turn a light on at a certain time of the day, you're going to get a lot of washout in the picture. A professional real estate photographer knows that. And they're going to come in and they're going to make it to where you can see the nice green trees outside. That is so much nicer than just looking and seeing a white window where you don't see anything. They're going to make it to where it's nice and bright and airy. And I don't mean let's hire a photographer that's going to use the fisheye lens and make your room look massive and large, and then buyers get to your home and they're disappointed because it's not true to the pictures. That doesn't mean that we're going to hire a photographer that doesn't necessarily like the 1990s color brown cabinets you have, and so they edit them to make them look a lot darker and richer, and then the buyers get there and the kitchen looks nothing like what they saw online. This means we're going to hire a professional photographer that's going to stay true to your home while photoing it in the best possible light there is. And what I mean by light is not necessarily the lighting, but angles, lighting, furniture placement, everything. Why that is important is because we're going to be putting your listing on MLS, and it's going to be syndicating to over 62 websites. But what's really important is those photos coupled with a detailed description. And what I mean by detailed, we don't want to talk about facts of the home in your listing description. They are obviously looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home that's for $200,000 and is 2,000 or more square feet. They've already put their parameters in. They know what they're looking at. We don't need to reiterate that in the very limited space that we have to describe it. What we want to do is paint a picture of the home. What are you going to do in the home? How are you going to take the features of the home and utilize that to tell a story for their everyday life? So I like to compare it to a menu. If you go to a menu and you see cheeseburger, lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, but then you see another menu that says 100% Angus beef burger with smokehouse, applewood bacon, so on and so forth, your mouth is going to salivate over that more detailed description of the burger than it would just cheeseburger, lettuce, tomato. So definitely sell the Angus 100% beef, all of that when you're doing your listing description. That's one of the things we're going to do. In addition to that, like I said, we syndicate to over 62 websites, and those include the major ones: Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, Trulia. And the reason why is because we know that our area is a relocation hub. We have a lot of relocation clients, and we want to make sure that we're hitting them everywhere. Zillow is most often used here on the East Coast, whereas Realtor.com is more of a West Coast thing. Homes.com is more Southern, and Trulia.com is more North. So we want to make sure that we're capitalizing on all of those. In addition to that, we're going to maximize social media. Like I said, if 85% of people are buying on the internet and 95% of those people are on social media, why would we not utilize that to target them? And how we're going to target them is targeted marketing. We know our demographic. Being a realtor, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is not about taking our cell phone out, taking a picture of your house, throwing it on MLS, and then just waiting for someone to like it. It is actively utilizing all the features of your home to market it properly. As we come down, you'll notice that we have highly visible yard signs and open house signs. The reason why is if you're traveling down the road and you know your house needs pressure washing, and you see a sign for pressure washing, but the phone number is so small that you would have to stop in the middle of the road or turn around to go get it. How likely are you to turn around and go get that phone number? We're more likely to pull out our phones and Google pressure washer, Charlotte, North Carolina, and see which one pops up the closest and has decent reviews. But we don't want to leave those potential buyers to chance. Mary Sue could be driving by and knows her sister's buying a house and send that to her. So we want to make sure that whatever yard signs we have are highly visible, they capture your attention, and the phone numbers are easy to read as you're driving down the road. In addition to that, our open house signs, we want those to be as advertised as possible. Too often we see an open house sign inside of a neighborhood, but nothing on the main roads to point to the open house. We don't want to leave that 7% of buyers that buy from open houses on the table. So we're going to make sure that we advertise that open house on the internet and social media. And we also are putting out directionals to capture that other 7% that are just riding around that may not want to buy a house right now, but they could. And your house could be the one that makes them want to move. In addition, we're not going to leave anything to chance when marketing your home. We understand that most of the time it's going to be a buyer's agent from another firm that is going to be showing your home to potential buyers. We want to make sure that in your home there's a customized property brochure that points out every single thing about your home. Who is to say that the buyer's agent is not a newer agent that doesn't know they need to print out the disclosures and the MLS sheet before showing? So then you have buyers in your home wondering what the school districts are, how old the hot water heater is, and they're asking questions and the buyer's agent just doesn't know. We know that in our world, we're instant gratification people, and we want our answers and we want them now. So we want to make sure that we're equipping the buyer and the buyer's agent with every piece of information we possibly can, including what restaurants are nearby, how far shopping is, how far movies are, what the school districts are, what the ratings for the school districts are. We want to make sure that every piece of information they could need to make a decision is there in that home. And that is where the customized design property brochure goes into play. Active lead generation and quick inquiry response. So we talked a little bit about social media and how we utilize that within our marketing, but I want to dig in a little bit deeper. We have what is called KV Core platform. And so we know that we're going to utilize that professional photography, any video, any drone footage, any Matterport to capture our audience. We know that they're going to look at your house for 5 seconds. In the first 5 seconds, they're going to decide whether they want to see it or not. So what's happening with this KV Core platform is when we target market a particular buyer and they click on your listing, Google is going to stalk them and pull in all of their contact information into our back-end CRM, because who better to sell your house than the listing agent that knows it best? I get their information and I'm going to follow up with them. And I'm not just going to follow up with them 1 or 2 times. That KV Core platform is going to continually follow up with them, even in my absence. If we get an inquiry about your home at 3 a.m. in the morning and I'm asleep, my KV Core platform is shooting a response to them automatically. What that means to you is, have you ever been on Google and you have searched for a certain type of product? We'll say a Roomba vacuum on Google. Then you get off of the Roomba vacuum, you don't order it, but you go on your Facebook to check it out, and you see all of a sudden Roomba vacuum ads everywhere. Well, we want to make it that when someone enters in Google homes for sale in Matthews, and they don't find what they're looking for, they're browsing, and we're not capturing their information because they're on another website, that when they get on Facebook, our house is going to pop up. It was just on their mind. They're going to click on it. We're going to get their information. Google's going to stalk them for us so that we can actively work to sell your home rather than relying on MLS and buyer's agents. Does that make sense? Understanding your role. So your participation in selling the home. We can do everything possible to market your home, to target market potential buyers, to follow up with potential buyers. Our signs, everything could be 110% perfect on our end. But if you don't understand your role and how it can affect you, then you could be the one sabotaging your own sale. So you need to make sure that your home is in show-ready condition. What that means is you want to make sure that dishes are put away in the morning while you're at work so that if you have a showing during the daytime, you're ready. You want to make sure that if your kids are brushing their teeth and spit toothpaste all over the mirror, that you're going to be wiping that down or at least conveying to them to be more careful. You want to be flexible when scheduling showings. I know that every single showing is not going to work for you, but what you need to do is propose a different time. If you think about it from a buyer's point of view and that instant gratification that we all know, if a buyer's agent requests a showing on your home and all you do is decline it, the first thing that buyer is going to ask their agent is, well, why did they decline it? Well, what time would work better? Can you follow up with them? And it's going to put a bad taste in their mouth about your listing from the start. How you combat this is proposing a different time instead of just declining and given a reason. If your reason is house is not show ready condition, 3:30 would be better. If your reason is family is from out of town right now, we cannot show, Saturday would be better. Give them that reason. If you're giving them information, they're going to be more understanding because they're human too. It also equips the buyer's agent to give them a direct answer when they're calling. Presentation of your home. Every showing counts. So in addition to the professional photos and all of that, I provide you with a professional staging consult. It's up to you whether you do what they tell you to do or not. I provide you with a deep clean prior to going live, and I provide you with your carpet cleaning too. It's going to be a marketing tool. If we can say, hey, carpets have been completely cleaned, those people that would normally want hardwoods or laminate may be more apt to give your house a chance. You want to remove clutter, personal objects, and unnecessary furniture. Again, we want the rooms to look spacious. We don't want to see picture walls of your kids and your family because a buyer's not going to be able to imagine themselves living there. You want to do quick dusting, vacuum, that's included in that deep clean. But throughout the listing time frame, you want to make sure you're maintaining that. Turn off any TVs, appliances, or distractions. A lot of people will tell you bake some cookies. I say, don't worry about baking cookies. You don't need to cook. A smell is one of the senses, and as long as your home smells good, it doesn't smell bad, they're going to attribute that with positive energy. Now, if you want to feed them something, put out a bowl of Hershey Kisses and give them some chocolate. Studies have shown it releases feel-good feelings, and then they associate the feel-good feelings with your house. We're going to update you on competition. The worst thing that we could do is go over your market analysis today and not review it prior to you going live. And what's even worse is that we go live and then we don't keep up to date on what's closed in that time frame. It can affect you in good or bad ways, and we want you to be prepared. So for instance, if a house that's under contract at the time we go live closes before we go under contract and it closes $10,000 less than what it was listed for, that's going to affect our CMA. And we're going to have to probably price drop as long as you agree to it. Remember, I have to be obedient to you. In the reverse, if it closes higher than what it was listed for because it was in multiple offers, that means we have a reason to bump your price up and get you more money. So we're going to stay up to date on any competition. We're also going to utilize our key boxes. It's a secure way so that we know who is coming in and out of your home. The worst thing you can possibly do is put a combo box on a house because we know that not all realtors are ethical and honest. And not all realtors are going to want to drive all the way from Lake Norman to Valentine to show this listing. And when they see it has a combo box on it, what are they more apt to do? They're going to give that combination to the clients, let them go by themselves. And who's to say that that wasn't a Zillow lead that this agent doesn't know from Adam and they don't plan on stealing something from your house, casing your house. They come up back with a U-Haul and steal all your stuff one day when you're at work. So we want to make sure that we're utilizing a secure key box. And what that means is that nobody but agents can get into your home, and that is through an app or a key that MLS gives them in person, and only MLS has the activation code for it. So we want to make sure that your home security is of utmost importance, and that's why that key box is important. Evaluation of offer. So we want to make sure that your offer is a good offer. And I mean that not just in purchase price. We could get a good listing price all day long, but you're hiring me because of my expertise. We want to look at who the lender is. We want to make sure that the lender can close on time. We want to make sure that any kind of appraisers that are going to be coming to your home are good appraisers. We want to make sure that the due diligence is appropriate in the amount for the time frame they're asking for. Response deadline, how to handle multiple offers, all of that goes into what we're advising you of. Then we manage your transaction to closing. We provide your seller's disclosures, and we make sure that you're filling them out correctly and you understand how to fill them out correctly. The worst possible thing that you can do is to do your seller's disclosures and not disclose everything, or not click no representation. We want to save you from a lawsuit in 3 years. We're going to make sure that the buyer's due diligence, evaluations, and inspections are proceeding in a timely fashion. The worst thing a listing agent can do is say to themselves, that's not my job, that's the buyer's agent's job. Because technically it is our job to make sure that the buyers are doing what they're supposed to. We don't want to come up one day before due diligence and now they're extending it, and now we're extending closing. So we're going to make sure that the buyer and the buyer's agent are doing what they're supposed to do in a timely manner. We want to make sure that we're, resolving any buyer's rights to cancel and resolving objections. I can't tell you how many times someone has came in and they have requested $200 repair credit for a refrigerant line on an HVAC that is deteriorated. That piece of insulation costs like $3 at Lowe's. There's no way I'm going to let you give them $200. But at the same time, I want the buyer to know this is not nearly as big of a repair as you're thinking it is. So that's how we manage it to make sure that you proceed to the closing table. We want to make sure any remaining contingencies or financing has been handled. This is on buyer side and on your side as well. If you are a seller and you have a lien and you didn't disclose it, and we didn't disclose it to the title company, and now we have to get the lien satisfied and everything like that, that could hold up closing, and we don't want you to be in breach of your contract. Additionally, if a buyer has a house to sell before they can close on your home, we want to stay on top of that buyer's responsibilities to make sure that their home is proceeding to closing and all of their due diligence for their buyers has happened. And then we get to the closing table. We're going to review your closing disclosures. We're going to make sure that you're not being charged anything that you're not supposed to be charged. And we're going to make sure that all of your numbers add up. That way, after closing, you don't find out that you still owe a home warranty in $400. Or after closing, someone doesn't come back and say, you never fixed this, there's not a credit on there. And then we see if it's a match. If you guys like everything that we have placed here on the table and how we sell our homes, then you decide whether you want to hire us. Either way, if you hire us, we're going to be your guide. We're not here to dictate what you do. We're going to be your guide throughout this process, because we do this full time every single day. And we realize that this is one of the biggest investments that you'll make in your future. So I appreciate your time. Do you have any questions? All right, I'm going to stop recording now.